Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes. We're playing our Sentinel, Dr. Cyclone. He's level 7, and we're doing the Hollows storylines, and we're trying to defeat outcasts in their base. And we're going to keep an eye on this, what do you want to call it? Not Fury, but what is it called? Opportunity Bar? Because I checked the patch notes. There are some contradictions about how it works. According to the patch notes, it goes up over time, but I don't see that happening as I just stand here. Um, that eventually over time it would go up, but I don't see that happening. I think it goes up mostly when you attack. Yep, see, there, now we're getting it. So it seems to work like domination, in that once you start doing stuff, then it actually grows. And yep, so we're moving along. Things are going pretty well for this character. No deaths yet. We'll see if we can beat our 10 level record, or whatever you want to call it. Not much of a record with Dark Phantom. We know that my longest one is, I believe, 19 levels with Iron Phoenix, Silver Phoenix's alter ego on the Rebirth server. And I don't remember what happened with Silver Phoenix. I know she died at one point doing a flashback when I just forgot that she was reverse sidekicked and that I didn't have some of my powers, including my Mez defense, until it was too late and I got Mez and killed, and that is not on film. The next time Silver Phoenix actually died for real against enemies that that I wasn't, where I was like fighting for real and I wasn't just sort of being careless. I still made a dumb mistake with her, but the first time she died was in her 30s. But again, since she had already died once, we can't really count that as the actual first time, since almost by definition, almost every time I die is because of carelessness. Every once in a while, I'm actually trying to be careful and I die anyway, like against um, the Envoy of Shadows. Those are legit kills. And I think all of this like zoomy, flashy stuff is means that we're at max on this. I think one difference between the opportunity and domination is that I don't think if you don't do it, I don't think it'll fade. I think it stays till you use it. Whereas with domination, if you stop attacking, eventually it will start to tick down. Alright, we found a key. And we're clicking on the glowy. We have to recover 2 more artifacts. I really like the little lightning-ish zooming effect there. It looks cool. And we do a lot of damage with this thing, even on enhanced. So I'm really excited about how much damage that's going to do when we have it enhanced for damage SOs and stuff. It's going to be cool. I also like blowing them away. Also, when you fire this, it takes 50% of the total size of the bar, not the current fill up. So that means that if it's maxed out at 100%, you can fire it twice. But it seems like even while it's active, unlike domination, it keeps ticking up. I feel like the wind is quieter than I would expect it. Maybe it's just the way I've got my sound set. So you see we've ticked all the way back up because we're continuing to attack. Now there's a troll. Couple troll and some outcasts. Alright, well. We're going to buff against you or debuff you. I like that. So this vulnerability or whatever you call it is a good debuff to the enemy, which is nice. So this character, although it's mostly attack and defense, also has some buffing and debuffing abilities. A little bit of mez with the knockdowns and stuff. So we've got kind of a little bit of everything, which I actually like a lot. Alright. So we have to defeat everybody, so we have to make sure that I don't miss anyone. And I'm sure there are guys up top. Maybe not. Usually there are guys around here. So guys, as we're going, let's talk about video games. And video games that disappoint. Or maybe video games that have issues, bugs, problems that look so cool and you're really dying to play them. So there's this one game that I want to play that's kind of a World War II XCOM combo. And it seems really cool. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to like call out any particular games or get into any of that. But unfortunately, you know, I look at the reviews, they're mixed. Okay, why are the reviews mixed? Well, apparently there are a lot of bugs. A lot of things don't work right. The game's been out for a while. And it's always so disappointing to me when this game looks so cool. It's got good graphics. The concept is awesome. It's exactly the sort of game that I'd like to play and I'm looking for. And then you find out that, well, yeah, but it's full of bugs and problems and balance issues and that sort of thing. And you end up not bothering to buy the game because, yeah, it's a buggy mess. It always just disappoints me. So what are the games you guys have wanted to play? And either you bought them and you found out after getting them, oh man, this game is a buggy mess. I've had that happen to me too. Gosh, I had it happen to me twice back in the 80s when there was no recourse. You couldn't return an open game. The company, there was pretty much no reliable way to contact them and get your money back or get it fixed or whatever. The two that I remember being most excited about and most disappointed that I couldn't play, one was, this wasn't really the game's fault, it was sort of my fault. So I had a Commodore 64, and Commodore 64s, for whatever reason, the games always use joystick port 2. This guy is a boss. Okay, so we're going to want to get some help here and then do that. And for whatever reason, and this was like a known issue with C64s, the Commodore 64 would, for whatever reason, the port number 2, maybe because it was used so much, it would break. So I remember my original Commodore 64, I had it for a long time, and it was a pretty good C64, but eventually, like, I couldn't play hardly any game. Any game that required a joystick, I couldn't play on it because the port was broken. So I got another C64, and that one also had problems with port 2, which was super frustrating. And so when I looked for games, I always checked on the box to see, do you need to play with a joystick? And if it says whether you need port 2, sometimes it would say and sometimes it wouldn't. There was no way to go online and look up what port do you use or anything like that. And so there was this really awesome Indiana Jones game that I was dying to play. And it required joystick port 2. And when I got it, it didn't say that it required a joystick port. So I asked for it for Christmas. My mother bought it for me. And then when I put it into the game, it was like, you got to plug it into joystick port 2. I'm like, it doesn't say that on the back of the, it didn't say that on the back of the box. They're supposed to say that you require a joystick, and it didn't say that. So I was really frustrated because I couldn't play it, and it looked like a really cool game. We got this, right? Yeah. But the other game I remember getting, and this one was a known bug, that apparently was in all of the C64 discs, um, was Star Trek, the Kobayashi alternative. And this was this game where first merit rewards, cool. So it was a text-based game. It was really cool. And your first mission was to go to this planet and talk to this race of people. And so you'd beam down, and you pick your party, and you beam down. It was all done by text. And then you meet these creatures. And we leveled up, and we got a new contact. So you meet these creatures, and what you're supposed to do is negotiate with them. If you try to attack them, you get bounced out of the game, told you've broken the Prime Directive, and you're court-martialed. If you try to escape from them or whatever, I can't remember the whole thing, but you were supposed to negotiate with them, but when you tried to do it, the game would just, like, it didn't take you to the like you type in your, whatever it is, like negotiate what aliens, Borg, let's say, right? It wasn't Borg because Star Trek The Next Generation hadn't come out yet. And you'd hit that and the game just didn't do anything. And it would lock up, and literally you had to turn your computer off and turn it back on because you couldn't do anything. All the keys were locked. And so I found out many years later, I looked it up online, and I found out that the Commodore 64 version of this game was bugged because one of my really good friends had it on the PC, and I was like, this doesn't work. And he's like, yeah, it does. And he showed me on the PC, and he went and he negotiated, and they talked to him, and he negotiated a peace treaty or whatever. And I'm like, well, it won't let me do that on mine, and he didn't believe me. So he came to my house, and he typed his same commands, and it locked up, and he said, what happened? I said, I told you, it locks up. He said, well, it's broken. I said, yeah, but once you open the box, that like inside, it came in like a notebook, a small, like a 5x8 notebook, hardbound notebook, like a spiral notebook with the rule book inside, and then a little plastic bag that had the floppy disks inside and some other like security thing, some code that you would use to like prove that you owned the game. And once you had to cut that bag open, it was sealed. You'd cut it open with a pair of scissors to pull the discs out, and the game stores told you, if you cut that thing open, we won't take it back, right? So, well, you have to cut it open to see if the game plays. If the game doesn't play, like, they're like, call the company. Well, the company, they were out of business or whatever because it was a small company, so you couldn't really do anything. Very frustrating. All right, intensify. What is this? Click self. So this is build up. So one of the issues I have here is, I know this doesn't do a lot of damage, but we also need another attack. I want to get Storm Cell, but I've been debating, should I get Gust? I'm going to go ahead and get Storm Cell on the hope that Lightning Strike will do some nice damage and we can skip Gust for now. So we'll get Storm Cell. And now I get to see how this works. And I suspect this is going to go up here somewhere. All right, let's go talk to Flux. So yeah, what games have you got? Have you gotten games and been wildly disappointed in them? Either because they were buggy or they didn't seem to play as intended. One of the reasons I watch Let's Plays all the time now before I buy a game is I want to see if the game is any good, and I want to watch somebody who doesn't have any investment in the company, not like publishers or game dev journals, game journos, because they get free games from companies on the proviso that they're giving the company positive feedback, right? If you give them bad feedback, they won't give you the free games, so you can't trust game journalists. So, yikes, that is a lot. Oh, there's some guys. Well, let's practice this. Oh, that looks nice. Look at that. Yeah, that is nice. Very cool. And this thing recharges pretty quickly, it looks like. So yeah, what games have you been really sort of excited about? And then when you got them, been either disappointed by it or found that the game does not play as expected, does not play as advertised, does not play as you were hoping. It's not doing what you were wishing it would do, what you were expecting it to do. It doesn't seem to play the way you got all excited for it to play. I have to tell you, City of Heroes is not one of them. City of Heroes is pretty much was as advertised, was as expected. Let's really do damage to these guys. Look at that. Very nice. Oh wow, we damaged those guys too. I love that lightning bolt. That is awesome. I wonder if there's any way to make that trigger more. Um, Here, let's just come over here for a sec. So let's take a look at this power. It takes endurance modification, endurance cost, enhanced range, enhanced recharge speed, enhanced knockback, damage, and accuracy. It does 8.19 damage only when high winds are active. 0% chance of 3 energy damage to the target. Reduce recharge time. Reduce their jump. Reduce their run speed so it slows them down. Increase 2 hit. Grant Storm Cell Lightning. Storm Cell Lightning does 16 damage. And Storm Cell High Winds. Yeah, so it grants these things that might show up on the power. I'm not sure like what the chances are. We have this X average damage, which is insane. I'm not sure how you slot this, guys. It costs 5 endurance. It recharges in 15 seconds, so recharge time might be a thing. I don't know if we need accuracy on it. Will that affect the accuracy of the lightning bolt? Somebody who knows, please tell me about this. If I crank accuracy and damage, does that mean the Storm Cell Lightnings will be more accurate and do more damage? I would think it does. Is it like how do you slot this? How do people usually slot this? We can also slot it for knockback. Don't know if that's worth it. Not sure we need to slot it for endurance. It's not an attack. It lasts for a minute. So I don't know that we need to slot it for recharge time. Right? If it lasts for a minute, recharges in 15 seconds, you can re-up it. And I don't know that we need to slot it for endurance because it's not using that much endurance. So what do you slot this for? My instinct would be to 5 slot this, dual accuracy, triple damage, but do people do other things with it? Is knockback worth it? Is the endurance modification's not worth it if that's reducing their endurance? It's totally irrelevant. As I've discussed before, the NPCs never run out of endurance. Range, we could then make it could go further before we. It's not going to increase the radius, but it will increase the range. So our range on it is 40 feet, so you could enhance it to 50 or 60. It's going to be interesting to see how this works. Mission. Okay, so we've actually finished his task, so we can come over here and talk to him. And now he tells us to go defeat the gang leaders and cruise here in the hollows. So let's see, let's organize this here better. I am very much enjoying this character. I love the visual effects of this stuff. The storm is really cool. I knew I was going to like it because, as I said, the new girl from my RPG group did play a storm defender. Um, Not defender, corruptor. But yeah, I'm having quite the blast. This is fun. And I'm going to storm cell you. And then I'm going to do this thing. And then I'm going to hit you guys with a cone. And I'm going to smack you around. Yeah, I'm liking this character a lot. But yeah, so going back to like games, not living up to the hype, not living up to what you hoped, not living up to the screenshots, and all the rest of it. Um, that's happened to me a lot, and it's very frustrating. And it's the reason why I started watching Let's Plays, to see how things really play and not the way the game tells you it plays, or the company tells you it'll play, right? And then once I had started doing that, I kind of started finding out, as we've discussed in previous videos back in the Dark Phantom playthrough, then I found out that I started liking watching Let's Plays just on their own, and then I started watching them for fun in addition to for information. And then I started wanting to make them, and that's why I'm here doing this. Yeah, that wasn't very effective because these guys didn't stay in the radius. That is awesome. That lightning bolt looks so cool. It reminds me of that Storm Defender thing where it creates this cloud and then it shoots lightning bolts at you. Very cool. Between the storm and the lightning bolt and the hailstones, you can keep these guys pretty well locked in, which is very useful. The sound effects are so good that for a second there I was waiting like, am I hearing thunder outside? Nope. It's this thing. What a great sound effect. It's very realistic. I love it. Okay, so range might be worth doing. Oh, and what I was going to say was so the new girl, if we get back to like what I said in the very first episode where I said in terms of slotting and stuff, I'm going to have to figure out what I like and what powers I like, how I think they need to be slotted, what works for me. An example of how I make these decisions, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I said this to the new girl when she was trying to figure out how to slot things. I said to her, if you find yourself constantly hovering over a power with the mouse, waiting for it to finish recharging, that's a sign you probably need to put a recharge enhancer on it. And she was like, oh, that's really useful advice. Okay, so see, this doesn't last that long, but we're going to do this. I think range might be worth enhancing so that I can target them with the storm cell without having to get too close to them. And then I think the next thing to do is probably wait until they run toward me and then see if I can blow them back with the air to try and knock them back into the storm cell. But of course, if I miss every single time, then I can't do that, right? Alright, well, if you're going to chase me, I'm going to let you chase me into the storm cell. No, he's running away because he's a coward. Because trolls are cowards. And of course I missed. And he didn't. But I did. There we go. Man, we're almost halfway through level 8 already. So we have 2 bombs to disarm. We also have to defeat the gang leaders and their crews. I don't see a leader. I see lieutenants. Again, it sounded like there was thunder outside my house. Yeah, I gotta hand it to COH, man. The visuals, the audio effects are all really good. So you're much higher chance of knocking them down or back when they're inside the storm cloud, the storm cell, which is awesome. Got to hit first though, so I definitely need accuracy on these guys. And you see how I'm waiting for it? So that means it's got to have recharge enhancers on it. Now, some of it, like these basic attack powers, the reason I'm waiting for them is because I don't have enough attacks to do a full attack chain. But as you notice, okay, I have to get close enough to them to for them to see me before I throw the storm cell. So I feel like it might be worth doing range on these guys here. And the other thing I want to do is pull them back into the storm cell, because then I'll do more damage to them and they'll get more knockback, and occasionally a lightning bolt might hit them. Right? Like that. God, I'm just missing constantly against white cons. Even though I have, like, what's the chance to hit? 95%? And I'm missing that much? That's sad. 84%. Oh, cowards. Took him out. And now we'll storm cell these guys. So this explains why the new girl was aggroing guys so much, because you have to move close. I can't remember if we talked about whether she should increase the range on it, but since I'd never played Storm, I didn't have a good way. I couldn't really advise her, because I didn't know. I'd never seen a Storm cell, and I didn't really know what she was doing. Right? Like, she explained, she said to me, well, it does this, but she didn't really understand it completely because she was new. And I didn't know what it was doing because I'd never played Stormblast before. And there we go. And yeah, my even on Steam, even after Let's Plays, my Steam library is littered with games that I only played a handful of times and less than like 20 hours of play, because it looked cool, it sounded cool, it seemed cool, it had cool graphics. And then I got into the game and found out, it's not as good as I thought it was. I should have watched a Let's Play. Maybe I even did watch a Let's Play. But then when I sat down there to play it, this isn't so great. Sometimes it's just the fact that a really good player will make a game look awesome, and then you find out that, well, It's awesome once you know how to play it, but as a beginner, man, this is really a rough game to try to start with, right? Oh, missed the guy twice. On 85% to hit, guys. It's not like I don't have a chance to hit them. So I gotta play around with this storm cell. Um, One of the things I've been doing is hitting it on them and then they run out of it to me. Maybe what I should do, instead of placing it in the middle of them, is place it in between me and them. So when they come in to get me, they're getting hammered by it. And they'll stay in it as they come up to me. Because they're going to be on that side of me. Let me show you what I mean. This is something I'm going to have to work out, right? And it's always true when you're trying a new archetype and the powers are different from anything you've played before. You got to kind of work it out. So what I mean is, I got a little too close here, but put it here, right? Then they're going to come into it to attack me, right? They have to come into it to attack me because I put it in between me and them. And then in order to attack me, they're going to have to stand in it. So they can't run out of it to get to me. And they're not smart enough as AI, right? The COH AI is not smart enough to run around and go behind me. They're just going to run up to me, right? It's nearest, or shortest distance to target, right? Straight line. They make a beeline to you, right? And then they'll stand right there. So you can kind of sort of force them. It's kind of like in fantasy role-playing games, what's called the doorway pull, right? Where you stand in a doorway and you attack, you open a doorway and you have like the tank or whatever stand in the doorway, and then you try to pull the enemies to you, and then they have to stack up at the doorway because they can't get through it, right? Until they take you out, or whoever the tank is out. And so this is kind of like my version of a doorway pull. This guy is ranged, of course, so he can shoot me from over there, but he's still getting hit. And as he comes toward me in a straight line, he's got to walk into the storm cell. And I can kind of keep him in the storm cell. Of course, if I miss him 3,578 times, it doesn't really matter. You know, we could say all we want about the fact that I was missing a lot because I was doing +2 and +3 enemies, but these are +0. Well, these guys are +1. I can't do anything about that. But these are like +1 or +0. I've got 88% chance to hit, and I'm still missing them like 3/4 of the time. And that is really frustrating. So you see this guy, he ran up to me, and now because he stops as soon as he gets up to me, which I missed him again. He stops as soon as he gets up to me, so that puts him in the storm cell. Now, of course, I can't really kite if I do that, but it forces him into the storm cell, and that I miss constantly. Let's try this, and so we can hit a little bit more. 92.75, still can't hit. I mean, there's no way that that's 92.75%. I'm missing literally every other shot, and it's an 81% chance to hit. Definitely going to need another attack, well, obviously. But the storm cell is awesome. I'm really loving that. Now, I don't know where their leaders are. Over here? Okay. And this set does have a self-heal, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to want to grab that at my earliest convenience because I'm taking a lot of damage. And I just don't have the powers yet to really both protect myself and do damage to them. It just, you got to be like 21st level or so for that to be true. Early on, it's just going to be rough. Yeah, there are some games that I've going back to this whole idea of games that don't pan out for you, like Transport Fever 2, I think it is. Oh man, it looks like such a cool game. I've watched people play it in Let's Plays. It looks really awesome, and I absolutely wanted to love it. I bought the game. I played it for a while. I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't as fun for me as the person I was watching made it seem to be. Oh my gosh, the misses. Again, trying to put the storm cell in between me and him. Trying to force him to come to me. There we go, multiple criticals. But missed again, right? Like, literally, okay, this is all I need to do is hit him, boom, miss. Every time. Yep, I love that lightning. It just triggers every so often, which is really nice. Those are the 2 leaders. Okay. Look at that. That lightning bolt does good damage too. And since I'm standing in the rain, in order to attack me, they're going to have to stand in the rain also. And there we go. Not bad. Not bad at all. There we go. Double lightning bolts. Very nice. Now, one thing I don't know is if you can stack this storm cell and it will do twice as much to them. If anybody knows the answer to that, go ahead and post it in the comments. I'm not going to be as far ahead on this series as I was in the other one, so I should see your comments in about a week to a week and a half, maybe less, and therefore hopefully we won't be quite as out of sync with each other as I was with the last playthrough. And that's just because I've been slowing down. I haven't been playing 2 or 3 sessions of COH a day because I've been playing war games and other games, board games and stuff. I've been playing Traces of War, which is an Eastern Front World War II board game, division and core level. It's about the Russian offensive to retake Kharkiv and Kiev and that part of Ukraine. And it's pretty cool. I played it once, the short snare, and once the long snare. The Germans won both times. Germans are defending, the Russians are attacking. I think I wasn't aggressive in the right way with the Russians. So I think I've figured out how to do it right, and I'm doing another playthrough. And hopefully in the next few days I'll find out if I've figured out how to make the Russians win. Not that I want either particular side to win, but one of the things I've found is that in a lot of these war games, it is much harder to be the attacker, the aggressor, than the defender. And I mean, that's just true in reality too. It's a lot easier to defend than attack. And in most games, there's a defender and an attacker in the war game, and I generally, when I'm soloing it, generally the attacker loses and the defender wins. In lock and load, in many of the scenarios where the Americans are the attacker, I have lost with the Americans, but where they're the defender, I have won with them. And there have been a couple of the Japanese versus American scenarios for World War II where I got absolutely owned as the Americans attacking, but then I took the Japanese and I owned them back, right? Like, the computer couldn't figure out how to win either in those scenarios. I feel like that's unbalanced, right? I know that it's easier to defend than to attack, but the developers should balance it so that the attacker should, I mean, what should happen is the better player should win, right? So all things being equal, the attacker and defender, if playing by equal players, should have a 50-50 chance of winning. So if I'm playing these scenarios and I'm playing both sides, the attacker should win about half the time, and they don't. Now, maybe that's because I'm better at defending than attacking. Maybe I'm not a good attacker. I probably am not. I tend to be very conservative. Whenever I played chess, I was very conservative. I never made the wild attacking moves. I admired players who did that, like Bobby Fischer, but I was never one to do that. I was always very kind of cautious. I always remember in the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer, the kid learns to play in the park with a guy played by Lawrence Fishburne. Vinny, I think his name is. And then, because he's really good at chess, the father brings him to a teacher, and the teacher is trying to teach him how to play like a professional chess player. And the kid is really good, but then he starts losing. And he goes into a slump. And he finally goes to the park, and he hasn't seen Vinny in a long time because the chess coach, Bruce Pandolfini, tried to keep him away from Vinny because he said he's giving him bad habits. And so he starts playing Vinny in speed chess in the park, and Vinny says, "What's the matter with you?" And he says to him, "You're playing not to lose. You can't play not to lose. You have to play to win." And I think that was always my problem in chess and even in war games, is I'm playing not to lose. And what he meant was you got to take a lot of risks in order to play to win. And I tend to be much more conservative, and I'm trying not to lose the game, right, rather than to win the game. Like, and I was talking to this friend of mine. He said, "You got to play. You're playing the Russians. You got to play like the Russians fought." And in World War II, the Russians were perfectly happy to expend thousands of lives to gain a mile. And, you know, it sounds pretty inhumane, but if they hadn't done that, they might not have been able to beat the Nazis at all, right? Because the Germans were better. And the Germans, you know, basically took a couple of Soviet lives for every life the Germans lost. And so if the Russians hadn't been willing to expend lives, they would not have won those battles. I'm not, you know, necessarily judging it one way or the other. That's just a simple fact. But what he was saying is you're going to have to play it that way, right? You're going to have to push your units into risky situations in order to try and stress the German forces enough that you can beat them. As you just play conservatively, yeah, I didn't lose any units, but I also didn't get enough victory points to win. Because I didn't get far enough. You have to get really far past the German lines in order to secure a victory. You got to get over the Dnipro River and stuff, and you have to do it in just a few turns, and you can only move 4 or 5 hexes a turn, and you got to cross all these hexes. So there's no way to do that unless you risk losing some units and actually lose some units. And it actually doesn't matter if you lose units, because you get a victory point. Oh wow, this is going to be rough. You get a victory point for every German unit that you take out, but they don't get any victory points for taking Russian units out. So you can lose Russian units at will, and it's not going to actually... Come on, can I hit, please? It's not going to actually do anything to your victory point status as long as you have enough forces that that you can push forward. Right? So it's worth it to lose a few units. It's worth it to lose a few units if you get pushed forward and gain control points and gain victory points that way and take out some German units as well. Anyway, it's an interesting game. It's pretty cool, and I've been having fun with it. But I haven't been playing as much COH because I've been playing these board games. I also played some more of American Tank Ace, and I think I've got the hang of that now. And I kind of get that game now, which I don't think I did the first time or two I played through it. And I, of course, played Conflict of Heroes, which was also a lot of fun. Oh, there's more guys here? Jeez. Just fill the room with storm cells. That'll help me. And so, yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. But that has also caused me to play less COH. Oh my gosh, there's more in here? Okay, this is a nutty room. There must have been 15 guys in this one. Well, let's see. 3, 5, 9, about 11 guys, I think. Something like that. In one room, while the rest of the base is empty. Crazy. You're welcome. Don't run up to me. Go outside. Get out of here. Sorry, I had an itch there. I hope I didn't bunk the microphone too badly. Alright, well, I've missed something. Rescue the last policeman. Is he in here? No. Nobody's in there. And this is a dead end. Alright, better go back downstairs. Today's Friday, and it is the end of my spring break. Shame. Okay, I'm never going to find this guy, am I? He's going to be in some little corner. Oh, I bet he's down here. Nope. There's a guy down here, but not the policeman. Turn off. So one negative about this is between the vulnerability and the ice storm, the storm cell, it takes a minute to get yourself set up if you get ambushed. If you get hit by surprise, you can't necessarily set all that stuff up. Almost leveled up. If I can somehow complete this mission, despite the fact that I can't find the last hostage, if I can somehow complete this mission, we might level up. But I've been in... Oh, there he is. I thought I was in all these rooms. And that should take care of him. Nope, of course I didn't hit. That takes care of him. We didn't quite level up. We'll talk to Flux. And he has another mission, which is to take out 10 outcasts. So this is actually, for once, perfect, because I didn't want to do a whole mission, but we can take out some outcasts and maybe level up. But not gray cons. There's some green cons. They give us a little bit of XP. But the mission XP might be enough. So we need 6 more. There might be some over here. Trolls in here, but over by here there are some. Usually. Yeah, there we go. Yep, every time I hear that I think there's a thunderstorm going on in my neighborhood. That is awesome. Blow him right back into the storm cell. 3 to go. 2 after this guy. And we're very close to leveling as well. Well, I guess we can just take these guys out because the completion of the story arc should level us. So this will be nice and quick. Oh, it didn't give me any XP? Come on. Well, that's the Frostfire mission, but guys, it's late and I've already done 54 minutes, so we're not going to do that today. So let's just find some blue cons or whatever and get some XP. And we'll level up. There we go. And we'll take off and head back here and get to the trainer and get our next slots. We got some text to look at. So let's hang on. What do we got? Don't need that. This is endurance reduction. Keeps that up to date. And this is fly. And we can go there. Okay. Sell the rest. We're almost halfway there. You need about 125,000, 100 to 125,000 to enhance at level 12, if I remember right. Do we need to start thinking about health and stamina yet? I think we do. I'm going to put one in there. And one in there. There we go. Okay. Alright guys, I think that's good for today. We've gotten to 9th level and we've got some slots. And we've got our storm cell working for us, which is pretty darn cool, both in effect, in the special effect, and in combat effect. It's great. And I'm really enjoying it. And until next time, I'm Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes with the Sentinel.